What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome back into another DLF YouTube channel video. It's Tuesday, so we're continuing with these rookie mock drafts from actual people down in the comments section with actual draft picks, actual rosters, and actual leagues. So this is just going to be a continuation of that series as we kind of wrap up and go through all these rookie mock drafts. So today's video comes from John Winegart down in the comments. So John, thank you so much. This is a one quarterback league, and it's got some additional stuff, and we got 4 first round picks that we need to talk through as we are trying to complete this rebuild for John and get him to start competing. So with that all being said, let's get right into the video. So like I said in the introduction, this one comes to us from John down in the comments. So John, thank you so much for offering up your draft picks, your roster, and your league for us to go through and try to see if we can help you out before your actual rookie draft. This one, like I said, is a 12-teamer. It's a half PPR league where you start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and then 2 flex spots as well. This one is also IDP, which won't be reflected in the mock draft tool because IDP players aren't in there. Ultimately though, because of the first round picks that we have with them being a little bit earlier, I don't think IDP so much is really going to come into play for those ones in your real draft. Maybe in the second round it probably will, maybe a couple IDP players. I don't really know. I'm not an IDP guy. I don't really like the format. Let's look at the roster here that we got from John. So his 1 quarterback roster is Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, and Sam Darnold. He's got running back Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, and Latavius Murray. At wide receiver, he does have T. Higgins and then a bunch of other guys like Michael Pittman, Gabriel Davis, Paris Campbell, Sterling Shepard, Quintez Cephas, KJ Hamler. And then at tight end, Ian Thomas is all that we've got going on there at the tight end position. So he's got some really good things going on for him. I like the quarterbacks that he's got in 1 quarterback league to be able to flex and stream kind of some of those given matchups and stuff over the course of the season. Running backs obviously look really good with Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, and Miles Sanders, and a nice backup in Latavius Murray. Wide receiver, at least the first wide receiver, looks good in T. Higgins, so we need some help at least in the back end of wide receivers, and then also at tight end because he only has Ian Thomas. So we can look at the picks that we have going on for us here. So these are all the first round picks that we have to work with. We have the 102, 103, 104, and 1.06. And then also that 2.04 in the early second round, and the pick that I said may or may not be impacted by IDP players. But at least for 2, 3, 4, and then probably 6 as well, this is all going to be pretty true to form and true to ADP because I don't think you're drafting any IDP players that high. Maybe you are. I'm not 100% sure. But we can go through it at least and talk about the offensive players to kind of help out with this roster that you've got going on here, John. So let's get this thing going. Let's get it started because the 1.01 could have implications in terms of how we're going and attacking these 2, 3, and 4 picks. So in this one, the 1.01 was Jamar Chase. That's probably pretty consensus in terms of how that's going in 1 quarterback leagues. Najee Harris, I would hope would actually be the pick because to me, you know, I really would like to get and add Jamar Chase to this roster. Even though you already have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and having 2 Bengals wide receivers, that might not make the most sense. I think Jamar Chase is absolutely a huge value right now, especially for trade. If you just want to take Jamar Chase and then flip him for, you know, like another wide receiver 1 or like a DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, I think you can absolutely do that if you don't want to have 2 Bengals wide receivers on your team, or do the same thing with T. Higgins. You know, I don't think you get as much for T. Higgins, but you can absolutely try and flip him maybe for like a Deontay Johnson or a Cortland Sutton or, you know, something along those lines. If you do end up getting Jamar Chase, I would absolutely not fade him just because you have T. Higgins. Just take the value and see what you got going on later down the season and throughout the rest of the summer, because you don't have to start a lineup right now. You know, you can still make moves before the actual season starts. So that would be definitely a smash for me if you can get Jamar Chase. Here's where we're at right now. We have the 2, 3, and 4. Jamar Chase was the 1.01. So easy pick for me. I picked him at the 1.01 last week. This one's just easy for me. I'm taking Kyle Pitts. That one's I don't think we really need to go into that. He only has Ian Thomas at the tight end position, not only on top of the fact that I think Kyle Pitts could be, a league changing type of a tight end at the position, a wide receiver basically playing the tight end position, like a Darren Waller or even like a Travis Kelce or George Kittle, something like that. I think you can do that almost immediately from day one with the Atlanta Falcons, especially since Julio Jones was just traded. So that one's an easy one, basically an auto pick there. 3 and 4 are a little bit trickier because you have basically your pick of the running backs right now. That's why I really hope that Najee Harris would actually be the 1.01, because then you can just have 2 easy picks in Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase. But if that's not really the case, then basically here, I feel like the value just says to take both of these running backs, right? I think you should just take both of these guys. Don't reach for DeVonta Smith or Rashad Bateman just because you need those wide receivers. Like, I'm not, ultimately worried about filling out a roster and a starting lineup right now. So I think you can just take the value. Just take Najee Harris, take Travis Etienne, call it a day, and see where we're coming back. I accidentally took Javonte Williams. I did that again. But take Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. See what comes back to you at the 1.06, because at that pick, I think, could ultimately be your wide receiver like it was here. Those 3 running backs went at 3, 4, and 5. And then at 1.06, you get your pick of your wide receivers after Jamar Chase. For me, it would still be Rashad Bateman is my wide receiver too. But I could definitely make an argument for this team, and probably the direction that I would go and would advise is that when you look at this team, I think you can absolutely compete with the team that you've got going on here. And if you take Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, you can absolutely flip them for wide receivers, or flip Jonathan Taylor, or flip, DeAndre Swift or Miles Sanders for wide receivers. You have a lot of trade value here to get wide receivers and get you ready for the actual season. So what I would recommend is probably not taking the shot on Rashad Bateman, because he isn't necessarily going to really pop in year one. He's going to struggle a lot with, obviously Hollywood Brown's still there. Mark Andrews is still there. They have Sammy Watkins on a 1-year deal. So Rashad Bateman is more of a stash player for year 2 or year 3, moving down the line. If you want more of a guy who can make an immediate impact at the wide receiver position, then my pick would be DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith could be, the actual wide receiver 1 for the Philadelphia Eagles, and just really depends on what Jalen Hurts actually is, if he is a good quarterback or not. I think a case could also be made for Trevor Lawrence, but it's a 1-quarterback league. You got Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, so I think you're fine there. You don't need to go for a Trevor Lawrence. If you want to take a quarterback, you could go the quarterback route at the 2.04. I definitely think that is well within the cards there. So for me at the 1.06, assuming that all the other running backs are gone, you have your pick of wide receivers after Jamar Chase. My pick here for the 1.06 would be DeVonta Smith to try to get you immediate production in year 1, just to add to somebody else that you can play and flex potentially as bye weeks or maybe injuries happen. Even if you're able to fill out your wide receiver core with the now 5 basically RB2s that you would potentially have after drafting at the 3 and the 4, depending on what happens at 1.01. So that's the route that I would go there. And then we see what comes back to us at the 2.04. So basically, as consensus is, the rest of the first round was all wide receivers, and basically all the rest of those wide receivers with Trevor Lawrence. And then we got Trey Sermon, Justin Fields, and Michael Carter going at the top of the second. So I feel like that's pretty typical. So if you wanted to go quarterback here, like I said, you definitely could. You could grab Trey Lance. If Trey Lance is gone, you could grab Justin Fields if he's there. I'm also not completely opposed to Zach Wilson at this 2.04, although he's probably much more of a reach there, as he's going more mid to late second round in 1-quarterback leagues. The other position that you would probably just go is wide receiver here. You could take the shot on Kadarius Toney in the first round. I would not go Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would probably not really look at Diami Brown or Nico Collins or any of these other guys, especially if Kadarius Toney is there. I would just take the shot on first-round draft capital and have this be more of your project wide receiver from this draft class than Rashad Bateman, and just see what you got in Kadarius Toney, see what Daniel Jones actually ends up being. Maybe come next year, Evan Ingram's not on the team, maybe Sterling Shepard's not on the team, and it's just Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, and Saquon Barkley as the Giants' future. That could ultimately end up being what's happening here, and that's definitely worth a shot, especially since they took a shot on him in the first round. Just see what goes on with the draft capital over some of the other more perhaps better landing spots for other wide receivers, but they got lesser draft capital. I'm trusting the draft capital here and would take Kadarius Toney. The other thing that I would like to mention with this pick and with the 2.04 is I would absolutely not be opposed to pairing that 2.04 with either 102, 103, or 104. I'd probably do it with 3 or 4. So pair 2.04 with 1.03 or 1.04 and go right to the 1.01. Try to see if that'll get you to that 1.01, because then that way, if you can solidify getting the 101 and the 1.02, that nets you Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts 100%. That absolutely is what you can do. And then you still have the 1.04, the 1.03, and the 1.06 to then be able to grab. You probably will grab another running back with those top 3 or top 4 picks, and then a wide receiver at the 1.06 like we did here. And then, I would absolutely do that, as opposed to, trying to see if one of those, if Jamar Chase falls to you, or try and take a shot on a guy at the 2.04. I'd be much more open to just packaging those 2 picks, solidifying getting Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts, and just kind of being done with it at that point. Taking a running back at 103 or 104, and taking your wide receiver at 106. And there you have it. You're done with the draft, and you're good to go entering the season. And you can absolutely trade and work around with a lot of other pieces. Like I said, you would have 2 Bengals wide receivers on your team, so you could trade one for another comparable wide receiver. You can trade one of the running backs, since you drafted one here, or potentially 2. Trade some of those for wide receivers as well. You got Kyle Pitts, so I think he's going to be basically your immediate starter on week 1 for you at tight end. And then I think, you can absolutely very much have a case for competing in 2021 or 2022, given how some of the injuries or bye weeks or whatnot play out for you, and then continue to build on throughout 2022 and 2023. So that's at least how I would attack this. Try to see if you can get up to 1.01. If not, take the value. Don't reach on wide receivers because you think you might need it. Just take the value at the running back position with your top firsts, and then try to see if you can trade for wide receivers later, trade them out. So that is my advice, and that is how the draft board went for me. So I hope this absolutely helps you out, John, and then also to everybody else out there as well. Maybe if your rookie drafts are still coming out, I can kind of talk you down from drafting for need over just drafting for value, because my mantra, DLS mantra, coming from Dynasty Outhouse, Rush Fisher, right, is just draft for value, trade for need. That's all you need to do, and that can definitely help you out in building out stronger rosters when you're not reaching on players, just taking the value in your rookie drafts and then trying to figure out and trading for actual need whenever you need to get to actually starting a starting lineup in September, because it's still June, so you got some time to figure that out. So that is going to do it then for this video. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button. We're like super close to 3,000 subscribers right now, and I would love to get over that benchmark by at least mid this week, if not by the end of the week. So if you're new here and you aren't subscribed, or if you've been watching for a little bit, not really sure, and you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because we got some awesome content coming for you from the DLF YouTube channel throughout the rest of the summer into the season as well. We're already planning out some of our in-season content and what we're doing there. Obviously, we got Ask DLF. That's the huge new live stream show that we got going on with Cal and Tyler doing their streams every single Tuesday night. The last one went for 4 hours, answering all of y'all's questions. So if you have Dynasty questions, you can absolutely just hop in there, throw it in the chat, and they will 100% answer it for you. They spent 4 hours on their stream last week, so that's absolutely insane. On top of all the other content that we got coming to you from the DLF channel, from me, from other people, and all that awesome stuff. So hit that subscribe button, help get us over that 3,000 mark. That absolutely helps us out, and it's an easy, free way to just support this channel and give us a little bit of help on that end. So thank you all so much for watching, for tuning in. We will catch y'all later.